There are so many ideas about marriage. Which ones are true? Which ones are based on falsehood? How much does a wife do? Who's her priority? What are the roles of her husband? What are her most important roles, and how does she balance them? Marriage truths will give you clarity in your own life as a wife and will clear all the confusion and give you a marriage which is lasting, happy, and you will experience the way marriage is meant to be. Stick around for more. Here are 5 shocking truths about marriage every wife needs to know. Every wife. Okay, I'm going to start with number 1. Every wife needs to know that every role that she plays is secondary to being a wife. Meaning, our sages teach us this, that every single thing that a wife does has to pivot around her husband. In other words, he's her priority, meaning everything else is secondary. If she can't attend to other things in her life because it doesn't actually sit well in her home, she can't attend to them because she has to attend to her husband. She wants to go to an event, but her husband is coming home, for example, and she can't. Of course, she can with talking about it with her husband, but it has to be with the mindset that my husband comes first, his needs come first. And when she pivots her life around her husband, her choices, whether it is to invite guests or not, right? Maybe he loves guests, maybe she loves guests, and he just wants guests once a month. How can she make her life happy, her marriage happy, and of course cater to her need for guests? Well, it all has to do with putting her husband first. It doesn't mean neglecting her needs, but with the mindset that my husband is first, that with the mindset that everything comes secondary, but his needs are first. My marriage with him is first, and everything else in this way actually falls into place. So every role you play is secondary to being a wife. Meaning, if I want to take on a hobby, a skill, if I want to go back to school, does it sit well in my marriage? Does it work in my schedule? Can I take care of the kids, take care of my husband, the kids, be a happy wife, and take on this project, even though it's great to do for the community, even though my skills will certainly help the community or your school or wherever place you work in? We have to ask ourselves, does it sit well in my marriage? Is it okay with my husband? Is it going to take away from me being, a good wife, providing for my family? So of course we can't do everything all the time for our husband and our children. However, most of the time, it needs to be that our husband's needs are provided for and our children's needs, because that is our role. The woman's role is to pivot around her husband and her children. Now her children grow up and they leave, and her husband is always with her, God willing, till 120 years. But the goal is to, with the mindset that if I want to take some kind of task, it has to be okay with my schedule, with my marriage, and with my husband, because only with a husband's blessing can you ultimately do everything well and do everything with the right intentions. So yes, we want to give ourselves grace. We can't do everything for everyone. However, if I want to take something upon myself, if I want to do something, it doesn't mean, like we may be confused in the secular word, says, she's independent, she can think for herself, she can go to school, she can make money. It's all with the husband's blessing that she can do that. So if I am catering to my responsibilities, my role as a wife, everything else comes after that. Then of course you could do other things as well, and with your husband's understanding and blessing. I actually asked a very prominent doctor who has an extremely busy schedule, and of course, and she also has a very large family, and she said, I was only able to do all this with my husband's blessing. With him giving me the opportunity to do so. He either took over a lot of her responsibilities or made it happen. So yes, you can do things, but make sure that your role as a wife comes first. Okay. The second marriage truth is that the husband is the captain and the wife is the navigator. Now, what does that mean? The husband is the captain. He needs to feel that he's in control, that he makes the last decision, right? It doesn't mean that the wife doesn't have input. She can influence, right? The navigator, she influences. There's a way you talk to your husband. We can talk to our husbands that influences his decision. Maybe the wife says, it'll make me so happy if we go there. I would love to go here. And then he takes the next step to buy those tickets, to go on that vacation, to go on this trip, to buy this item. Why? Because his wife influenced him. So wife is the navigator, meaning she's the influencer, and the husband is the captain. And to the husband, it sounds so much nicer if he's the captain, he's in control. If the wife uses the language of, this makes me so happy, I would love to. Is it possible? Why? Because then he can make the decision of making her happy. And the husband, number one thing he wants is to make his wife happy. It makes him the happiest to know that his wife is happy. His wife is satisfied in life. And he will seek those opportunities if she is taking the role of the navigator and not the controller, not the captain. Hashem created man and woman to have certain roles. Naturally, the man has an ego. He wants to be in control. He wants to make the decisions. He wants to be the seeker, the one who makes things happen, right? Obviously, the wife contributes to a lot of this. But however, understanding our role as the woman, as the navigator, and you can influence your husband in such a way that he will make you happy. Now, if a woman decides not to be the influencer, not to be the navigator, and says, I want to go here, and you never take me to this place. Now, maybe he'll do it anyway for her because he wants to keep her quiet, but it's not coming from his heart, and it's not coming from him wanting to. So if he doesn't want to do it, how does it feel to her? She probably feels like he's following directions. Nobody wants to be married to a child, right? A child follows directions. A student follows directions. The wife wants her husband to make her happy, right? And we have to influence our husband and tell him how to do that. They don't know that on their own. So the role is the husband is the captain and the wife is the navigator. She's the navigator. Okay. The third marriage truth that I'd like to bring up to you is when your husband is your top priority, everything else falls into place. Okay. The husband is number one. Now that doesn't mean the baby who's crying, who needs a diaper change, you just leave on the floor crying and because my husband came home and I need to just drop everything and run, right? No, it means that when he does come home, the wife, stops what she's doing, looks out, says, what, I'll be with you in a second. I'm so happy you're home. I'm just changing the baby's diaper, right? So that's showing he's my top priority. It's not like he's coming into the house 10, 15 minutes later and you wave hello. He's not a neighbor. He's a wife's number one priority. That means his preferences need to be first. If he likes a lot of salads on the table, that's what she needs to take care of. If he doesn't like plastic dishes, he likes real, that's what she needs to do. If he doesn't like guests so often, that's what she needs to take care of. If he likes the house to look a certain way, she needs to make that happen. Now that doesn't mean she does everything, right? There's something called putting the problem on your husband's lap, right? Which is, let him solve your problems. Honey, I'm so overwhelmed. I know how much you love real dishes on the table, but this Shabbat, I'm just so overwhelmed. I have X, Y, and Z to do. I'm just so tired. And then you leave it alone, and he'll hopefully, bring a solution up. Maybe to put plastics on the table. Maybe not to have so many guests over. Maybe to have the kids pitch in more. Or maybe he'll help more. So putting the problem on his lap is a great tool to let him know, listen, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm tired, I want to make you happy, I just don't know how. And probably you do know how, but it's the way you say it, right? We are the influencers, the navigators. If you say it the right way, he will make the decision to make you happy, and he will actually make the decision in your favor. So remember, let's remember that our husbands are our top priority. His needs come first. Whatever his preferences are first. He likes spicy food. He likes certain, foods that you make versus others. A budget, to be followed. These are maybe a lot to swallow. We can't do everything perfectly, but just doing something a little bit more intentionally, knowing that this is going to make my husband happy, really goes a long way. And you don't have to do everything perfectly, because I really wanted to do this, but it was really on my mind. I know how much you love freshly baked cookies versus from the store, but I really couldn't get to it this week, and I bought them, but I will really try to bake early on during the week next week. So that's showing your husband, you're my priority, what you want is my priority, I'm doing my best, and I'll do better next time, kind of thing. Okay. So number 4 is, there's studies done that the more a marriage is equal, the higher it is to get divorced. Meaning that there's a higher rate of couples getting divorced if the marriage mindset is equality. Meaning, I cook, you clean up the table. I take care of the kids during this time, you shower them put them to bed during that time. Yes, couples need to help each other, but our sages teach us something so gorgeous, that everything that a husband does is pure chesed, is pure kindness in the house. And if the wife looks at that and says, you know what, thank you for this, and thank you for that, and thank you for taking care of the kids for me, yes, it's also his kids, and yes, it would be nice that he helps, but he doesn't have to. The marriage mindset in the secular world is equality. Oh, I also work. Oh, he works, but he doesn't do half as much things as I do. He wasn't created to do so. That's not his role, right? A man's role is to do one thing at a time. Like, you can go shopping and think about 10 different things, like the holiday coming up, the birthday coming up, Shabbat meal, what you're gonna buy tomorrow, what's good to bake for someone who had a baby, and that's the woman. Her mind is like spaghetti. But the man, if he's doing one thing, he's at work and he hasn't called you all day, a woman can get upset and say, you haven't called me all day, you don't love me anymore. She'll take it so personally. But it's not because he doesn't, it's because he can only do one thing at a time, because he was created to. A man was created to learn Torah all day long. Now, it's a whole different topic that certain men obviously can't learn all day long. It's fine. But to understand that his mind was created differently than the woman's. She can do a few things. Of course, not everything's 100% well, but she can focus on a few things at a time, while the man has to focus on one thing at a time to do it well. So with this understanding that my marriage is not meant to be equal, I'm putting my 100%, and whatever my husband is putting, hopefully also 100%, is going to make the marriage beautiful. When you give, you get so much more. When this person sees that you're going into the marriage and you're not counting how much you're doing, which is the secular world is teaching us that, we have to really try our hardest not to pay attention to the secular values that, equality and feminism. Yes, women are special, women are important, women have a role, women, yes, have an education, but the husband is the captain. The husband is the captain and the woman is the navigator. He must feel like he's in control and he's making decisions. And if she's smart, she'll use her navigational skills to influence her husband on what's the right decision in life, or what's a better decision in life. Hashem gave us something called the mesorah, which is called the woman's intuition. He only gave it to the woman. But in her womanly wisdom, if she is wise, and Hashem should bless us all to be wise, if she is wise, she is able to really influence the husband to make the right decision. And that is the gift we have as women. Okay. And I would like to share with you the last marriage truth is that, yes, our husbands are not perfect. Nobody is. We are not perfect. So when we're trying to influence our husbands, there's 3 things that we wish we can do, but we can't. Well, what do we wish? We wish we could teach our husbands improve our husbands and to correct our husbands. We can't do any of these because our role is not to teach, our role is not to correct or to improve. A mother can be concerned about her son, and she can say, you know what, I think you should wake up early because it's better for you you'll be more productive during the day. She can't do that to her husband, right? That's not a role that's a role a mother has towards a son, right? But to her husband, she can say maybe something like, you know, can I help you? Can I help you in the morning? I know you tried to wake up earlier. Is there anything I can do for you? Now that's an influencer. That's someone who's supportive. That's an eshet chayil. So with this mindset, knowing that I can't teach my husband, right? Maybe we could learn something about a certain topic that he wants to work on. But we're not here to teach. But there's something that we can do when we really want to change our spouse and nobody was successful in changing them. But when you influence your spouse, your marriage will be totally different, a true game changer, and your husband will want to be better for you. I'm not going to say change because it's all according to, each circumstance, each couple is different. And, every couple is meant to go through certain things and overcome certain challenges. But the best thing we can do when we want to teach, improve, or correct our spouse is to keep quiet and daven, to keep quiet and pray. A marriage is made of three partners: the husband, the wife, and Hashem. Hashem is part of our marriage. If you don't have Torah in your life, if you don't have observance, if you don't have that in your life, Judaism teaches us that. You can't have a complete marriage if God is not in your life. If I'm not connecting to Him, if I'm not saying, you know what, my husband is meant to be like this, I'm not talking about marriages who need a lot of help, meaning like abusive relationships, or any other really like maybe addictions, but just like the normal marriages. Knowing that my husband is meant to go through this challenge. Well, let's say it's a financial challenge. You know what? I'm going to pray to Hashem. Please help us to come out of this challenge. Help me to be patient. Help me to give my husband strength and encouragement so we could go through this together and overcome this challenge and be bigger and better. And with this connection and bond, you will have a beautiful marriage. I hope these ideas were helpful. Remember, these 5 truths are going to help us live a marriage which has more clarity and connection and happiness. Leah Abramov, being and becoming. Awakening awareness of your greatness and potential.